to talk to you today about values. What our values are. We all have values. Values determine how we live. Values determine how and why we respond to certain things. Values, let me just read a definition to you. Values are a person's principles or standards of behavior. A person's principles or standards of behavior. I would go out on a limb here and say that you all have values. Every single one of you has a set of values that you live by, a set of rules and things that you make decisions by. We all have them. You say, well, what do you mean by values? Things like honesty, integrity, kindness, excellence, things like that we'd say we adhere to. And there's a difference, though, between the values that actually govern our lives and values that we would want to ascend to, that we would want to live by. How many of you remember Enron, the company? Okay, they did some crazy stuff. But if you went in their halls of their company, they had things on the wall like integrity, honesty. These were their values. Yeah, they were just things on the wall. They had no governing authority in the way that they ran their company because we know what happened, and they were not honest. They did not have integrity, and they made decisions that were corrupt. Those would be what we call ascensional values, values that we would want to ascend to, but they aren't governing our lives. You all have a set. I don't know what your values are. My top 3 values in life are this: learning, adventure, and relationships. You're like, what about honesty? Hey, they're there, but these are the top 3. I like to learn. I love to learn. I try to learn something new every day. Adventure. I love adventure. Like if you said, hey, you want to go to Zimbabwe tomorrow? Yes, I have a wallet that is a passport wallet with me all the time. I'm ready to go. Where are we going? What are we going to do? We'll figure it out when we get there. Awesome. It's going to be an adventure. I'm going to learn, and I get to do it with you. We're going to have a relationship. I value relationships. Those 3 things, they motivate me. They govern my life. But just as we all have a set of values, whether they're influenced by culture or by the way we grew up or whatever the case may be, there's a set of values in Christianity that govern our lives, that our lives as Christians should be marked by. We're in the Easter season. Last week we celebrated the resurrection. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. And so many times when we come to church, I think we expect to be moved in such a way that is emotional, and like we walk out and we're pumped up, and then we're like, what do I do the next day? How do I wake up the day after Resurrection Day and go to work and be a Christ follower? I'm talking about the 365 days a year, 24/7 things, the stuff that we would say, yeah, it's not really exciting. There's nothing really sexy about that at all. How do I live my life? I want to share 2 values with you today that I think the Christian life should be marked by. And that's excellence and integrity. Now, these aren't exclusive to me. In fact, I've ripped them off from people because they're transferable. They're true. We have a set of values here in the church that I've been teaching to the staff. We have 5, and we call them the rules of engagement, our operational values, and excellence and integrity are 2 of them, and I want to share those with you today. That our lives as Christ followers should be marked by these 2 things. Now, here's the amazing thing about these 2 values. They're not a supernatural endowment from God. They're not a spiritual gift. They are simply a decision. That's it, a decision. The first one is excellence. Now, when you think of excellence, what do you think of? You think of a product, you think of a person. I don't know how you feel, but I think of Apple Computer, the company. They make excellent products. Now you say, well, I don't like them. I don't care. They still make beautiful products. They make a beautiful, whether you like the company, whether you like how they do things, you cannot look at the product and say, that's beautiful. And you see people copy off them, the way they design. Steve Jobs' father taught him, because he made cabinets, that the back of the cabinet he made just as beautiful as the front, even though no one would see it. Why? Because there was this commitment to excellence in that. To me, when I look at a product that they make, I'm just very impressed by how it looks. They took the time. They think about the small details. Steve Jobs, when he had Wozniak build the first computer, he had the circuit board in line. It wasn't just all spread out. There was order to it. There was a commitment there to excellence. Now, biblically, when we say excellence, what do we mean? And the word excellent used in the Bible means this: surpassing, exceedingly, and honorable. Now, when I think of excellence, I think of this. I think of Colossians chapter 3, verse 23. This will kind of solidify for our discussion today what excellence really is. It's this: work willingly at whatever you do as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. Work willingly at whatever you do as though you were working for the Lord rather than people. See, being excellent, when I think of that, excellence, this is what it does. It recognizes that our life is a gift from God and everything that we have from him is a gift. We don't own anything. My job is a gift. My spouse is a gift. My son is a gift. The money I have is a gift. The opportunities I get, they're a gift. And I'm called to steward them, not to own them. And excellence is this approach to life that says, because God has given me the very best of heaven in Jesus, you can't forget Easter, I'm going to be excellent. That I'm going to be excellent at everything that I do. Meaning that when I go to work, I don't work for a company and I don't work for a boss, I work for God. Solomon would say it this way, everything that my hand finds to do, I will do it with all my might. No matter how minuscule, no matter how boring, no matter how much you think someone doesn't see it, this excellence is the way in which we do it. Joyce Meyer says this about excellence. She says, what we do when no one is looking is who we really are. What we do when no one is looking is who we really are. Excellence does not say that I'll work hard when my monthly review is coming up so that I can get good scores. Excellence does not say I'm going to do a good job so I can make more money. Excellence does not say I'm going to do a good job so I can be recognized. Excellence says no matter if anybody recognizes it, no matter if anybody sees it, I'm going to work hard because I'm not working for me, I'm not working for the boss, I'm not working for the company, I'm working as unto the Lord. And outside of your job too, how you are at home, how you are with other people. Let me give you an example of excellence. This is my favorite. It's how you are when you're at the grocery store. What do you mean? I'll tell you one of my pet peeves. It's people who don't put their cart away. Amen. Now, I will say this. There are extenuating circumstances. You have a newborn. You have little kids. You don't want to leave them in the car. Why? I get it, okay? I'll give you a pass. But I have literally watched people. Literally, I stand back. I watch people. They put their groceries in their car. The cart thing is just right over there. There's a sidewalk at Walmart in High Ridge. I've watched them struggle to pick the cart up, set it on the thing because they don't want to walk across the aisle and put their cart away. I'm sorry, I think that's lazy. Lazy. In fact, the next person I hire, I'm going to ask them, when you go to the store, do you put your cart away? Because here's the thing. It may be a little crazy, but I'm saying if you won't put the cart away, what else are you not putting away in your life? What else are you not being excellent in? Well, they pay somebody to do that. Yeah, they don't pay somebody to walk all over God's green earth and pick carts off the sidewalk, off the median, and put it in the carousel that you are capable and able to do. Because I know at Aldi, you want your quarterback, so you put your cart away. You'll do it for 25 cents. You won't do it for self-respect. Aldi's smart. A penny? No. Nickel? Dime? Don't care. Quarter? Better believe it. I'll put my cart away. You figure it out with your kids, right? You know. Excellence. Now that's a small thing. It really is an important thing to me, and I've got to check myself because I judge people on the basis of whether they put their cart back. But it's those small things. It's those small things. Do you pick something up, at the store that is in produce, and then by the time you're at the other end of the store in automotive, I don't want these peppers. Do you leave the peppers there? Do you pick some deodorant up, and then you leave it in the peanut butter aisle because it's the wrong deodorant and you don't want to buy it? And those things are small, but I think they say something about us. Yeah, they pay somebody to do that, but, that's not the best way to live our lives. Excellence is this commitment. I'm going to do my best at all times, especially when no one's looking. Because excellence is not a skill, it's a decision. Excellence is a decision. And I think as Christ followers, we should be the most excellent people on the planet because we have been given the most excellent, perfect gift in Jesus. That when we go to work, regardless of how our boss treats us, regardless of how our company treats us, or they compensate us, I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to work hard because I'm doing as unto the Lord. And I'm not going to do it when my boss is looking over my shoulder. I'm going to take the most menial task my boss gives me, the one that I hate. If you want to be excellent, you want to be more excellent, take the task you hate the most and start doing it the best with all your might. Be excellent. You want to get promoted? You want to be recognized? And we don't do it for these reasons, but if you want that, work hard. Be excellent. See, excellence was really ingrained in me working my time at Joyce Meyer Ministries, but it started before that. And when my father, growing up, my dad would always tell me, son, you need to look presentable when you leave the house. Iron your shirt. I worked at Ponderosa. It was my first job. I washed dishes, okay? And it's a nasty job. My dad said, don't walk into there with a wrinkled uniform. Don't go to work with a dirty uniform. Dad, I work in a dish room. It's disgusting. In 5 minutes, it's going to be horrible. I don't care, son. Iron your shirt. Iron your pants. Look presentable. And I did. I had a job in college. I sold appliances for 100% commission. We didn't get paid an hourly wage. And I would be in there ironing my shirts because I figured out if I looked more presentable at 20 years old, people would be willing to talk to me. Because I had never sold any of these things. I had never used them. Water softeners, dishwashers. I didn't use the stove growing up. My mom made food, and I just ate it. And here I am telling these people what they need, but I realized if I look presentable, I bought an ironing board. I bought an iron so I could iron my stuff in college. I'm so bad, I iron my t-shirts. That's how neurotic I am. Anybody else iron their t-shirts? If my jeans are wrinkled and I can't shake them out with Febreze, the wrinkle releaser spray or whatever, I iron them. Goes back to my father. Be excellent in what you do. Take pride in who you are and what you have and the job that you're given. Excellence doesn't start when you make that amount of money you want to make. When you get to where you want to go, and that's not where excellence starts. Excellence starts in the dish room of a Ponderosa, whatever your Ponderosa is. That's where it starts. I want to tell you something. If you're too big to do little things, then you're too little to do big things. If you're too big to do the small things, you're too small to do the big things that you want to do in your heart. And I believe that God gives us small things to do to test us and see if we're able to do those things. Because God, although he's given us gifts, he's worked a character and an ethic into us that when we get to the big stage, that stage isn't going to corrupt us or destroy us. Because you've heard this, you can have a gift to take you somewhere, but if you don't have the character to keep you there, you will be destroyed. Excellence. Do you appreciate it? Can you do something and do it with the best of your might, even though nobody recognizes it, nobody praises you for it? In fact, they don't even care. Can you do it? And can you do it when no one's watching? Because what you do when no one's watching is who you really are. That's the reality. I'm going to tell you what excellence is. Number one, I said this, it's a decision. There is no supernatural gift of excellence. It's a decision that you'll make. Anyone can be excellent. You say, well, I don't have a lot of gifts and talents. It doesn't matter. You can still be excellent because excellence is not perfection. Excellence is not tied to any gift or talent. Excellence is a decision that you make. You can make the choice right now. I am going to be an excellent person. I am not going to cut corners. I am not going to do things I know I can get away with when the boss isn't watching. I'm going to be excellent. I'm going to make that decision. You make the decision to be excellent, and then you realize the second thing that excellence is, it's an attitude. It's an attitude with which you approach your life. It's an attitude with which you do your job. I'm going to be excellent. I don't care if the boss sees it. I don't care if the coworkers see it. I don't care if I get rewarded. I don't care if I ever make another dime. I'm going to be excellent. And I'm going to work hard. I'm telling you, people recognize that stuff. People pay attention to that stuff. It has a cumulative effect. And then excellence is an action. You make the decision, you develop the attitude, and then you better act on it. You better act on it. Just being an excellent person. Because there are benefits of excellence. And you need to think about excellence not in terms of how it affects me today, but how's it going to affect me 10 years from now? How's it going to affect me a few months from now? When you're facing the thing, whatever you're doing, and you know you could cut corners, and you know nobody would know, but you would know. We were in Guatemala one year, and we were building this house, and on top of the house was a gable, and the gable was wood, the rest was block, and we had to stain it, so we wouldn't buy walnut stain, but we didn't buy enough. We ran out. Go back to the store, buy more walnut stain. It's a different brand, and guess what? Walnut is not walnut. We put it up on the wood, and I could see right away that there's two different colors of stain, of walnut. We'd spent a lot of time on the first part of it. We could have left it right? Been two colors. It's Guatemala. Who cares? It's not in a subdivision. They don't have as much as we do. I'm sitting there and I told my brother, we were there, I said, Sam, man, we gotta redo all of this. Are you serious? Yeah. We're thinking, nobody's going to see it, right? Nobody's going to care. But then the reality hit me, and I think it hit my brother. But we're not doing this for them. We're not doing this for anybody else, except we're doing this as unto the Lord. And you know what? I don't think we got any more brownie points in heaven for making sure that looked like one color of stain, but we took the time to do it because we knew that we would know and that God would see it. And is it right to say that just because we're in Guatemala and they're poorer than us and they don't have as nice things as us, that they won't care and they don't deserve to have a one-colored stain on the gable of their house? Excellence. Excellence comes up at the most inconvenient times, doesn't it? You're trying to get somewhere. You're trying to do something. You're trying to wrap it up, and you realize that this is not as good as it could be. And it may not net you any more money or any more praise, but you take the time to do it anyway because it's not your best. We give our best because God has given us his best in Jesus. And I know there's balance to all this. There are some things where it's just a point of diminishing return, but just making a commitment to be excellent will get you far in life. I think what we want to do in life is this. We want to come to God, present our problems, and expect God to fix them immediately. Here's what we want to do. We just want to sit down, come to church, right? God, I'm here, I'm worshiping you, I'm giving, I'm doing all these things. I want you to fix my marriage. I want you to give me a better job. I want you to fix this. I want you to fix that. And we're not willing to do the things that God has asked us to do, right? We're just sitting by and then we're like, God, you didn't intervene. God, you didn't do it. And then we're mad at God because our boss doesn't like us. We don't like our boss. And it's just all this crazy stuff. We think God doesn't answer prayers. All the while, we've been praying for God to do stuff that we're entirely capable of doing. Right? It's like this. I heard one pastor say, it took 20 years for you to jack up your marriage and you want me to fix it today. We don't do that. We expect God at times to just miraculously fix our problems. And can he? Sure. He's a miracle-working God. But God does what we cannot do. We don't pray for God to do the things we can do. I don't pray for God to go to work for me. He's given me a job. I can get my sorry butt out of bed and go to work and be on time. I can do that. And I can work hard when I'm there. I can't give myself a raise. I can't make ends meet when there's a gap and I need God, but I can be excellent, right? I can treat my wife better. I can stop praying for God to change Lauren and start asking God to change me and own up to the problems that I bring and the issues that I have. We can make decisions. Instead of sitting there waiting for God to do something, why don't we just realize that he's already done something? It was pretty incredible. It's called Jesus. It's called salvation. And that should light a fire under us because he's given us a new faith, a new hope, and a new love. And let's get out there and be some excellent people. And work hard, not to earn anything. No, we don't earn salvation. We don't earn this stuff. We receive it and then we respond. I want to share two more scriptures with you about excellence. Here's Daniel. Daniel chapter 6, verse 3. Daniel, he is a captive, meaning that the Hebrew people, they've been overthrown by the Babylonian people, so he's a captive. He's like a forced immigrant. He has no rights. He's not a legal citizen, right? He is a nobody. And this is what it has to say about Daniel. Chapter 6, verse 3. Then this Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and satraps, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king gave thought to setting him over the whole realm. Daniel had an excellent spirit in him, surpassing, honorable, exceedingly. They saw what Daniel did, and the king took notice and thought about placing him in a position of authority as an exile, as a captive, as an illegal immigrant in a country, where he had no rights, had no way of getting a rising to that level, but it was his excellence. It was his discipline. It was the small things he did day in, day out that what people took recognition of. As I said, excellence has a cumulative effect. If you want to move up, if you want to be promoted, make a commitment to being excellent. And not in a way that's flashy, and not in a way that people see your excellence. Just do what you know is right, and do it to the best of your ability, day in, day out. Wah, 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 wah. and keep doing it. And if nobody ever promotes you, keep doing it. Why? Because you're not working for them. You're not working for the company. You're doing it unto the Lord. And God is either ultimately faithful or he is not. And that's where we let it rest. I believe that he is ultimately faithful. In Proverbs chapter 22, verse 29, it says this, do you see a man or a person who excels in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before unknown men. See a person who is excellent. They will not stand before unknown men. They will stand before kings. Now, you and I may never stand before a head of state. We may never stand before, Prince William or Princess Kate. Even if you'd love to, it'd be amazing. Just because you were great at your job. But I do believe that if we will be excellent, if we'll make a commitment to it, it has a cumulative effect. And God will promote us and bring us in the path of people who can help us and who can do things that we are unable to do. A few years ago, I was in Guatemala, and we were there to purchase some land, this land that we eventually built that house on I told you about. And let me back up. I started taking Spanish in high school because I needed 2 years to graduate. They said to go to college, and the teacher told my mom and dad that I should continue to take more Spanish because it was coming easily to me. So they forced me to take more Spanish, even though I didn't want to. They paid for it. I got college credit, and then I went to Mexico, and I saw the value of Spanish, and it was just kind of a cool thing. But I just kept taking more Spanish because I felt like I was going to use it someday, and I ended up getting my degree in it. And I was working at JMM at the time, answering phone calls, and I thought I was better than that. I had a college degree, and why am I sitting here answering phone calls 8 hours a day, talking in English, talking in Spanish, ordering books for people, praying for people? I mean, just stuff that I was not excited about. We go to Guatemala, and we have to get help to buy this land, and so the guy says, hey, we have a meeting with this dude who's going to help us, and we have to go to this coffee shop. So we went to this coffee shop, and this guy walks in with with Secret Service, Guatemalan style, these guys in suits, and he sits down. His name is Arturo Bates. I find out as we sit down that he is a senator in Guatemala, like the equivalent of a U.S. senator in the country. And guess what? They did not bring a translator. The guy who we were there took us to the meeting, did not bring a translator, and he said, oh, no problem, Josh speaks Spanish, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. And I'm sitting here, and I'm trying to catch my breath, and I say, excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom. Excuse me. And I go to the bathroom, and I prayed. I said, Heavenly Father, I've been speaking Spanish for a little bit. I know I take phone calls, but I need a supernatural influx of Spanish in my brain. Help me, God. Now, what you have to realize is this. Let's rewind. Lauren and I started a nonprofit organization. We were 25, because we felt like God told us to. Started a thing called Project 58. We wanted to change the world. And so in our effort to change the world, the first thing we were able to do is buy a goat for a lady whose house we built in Guatemala. We bought a goat, $75. That's where we started. We started with a goat. I didn't have any money to buy goats, but I told them we'll buy some goats. And we got the money together, and we bought a goat. That's where we started. Just 2 years later, here we are. Here I am in Guatemala City, sitting before a senator, speaking a language that I don't naturally speak. And we translated the meeting. This dude gave us all the money to buy the land for that project that we're now building on. And I'm not here to lift myself up. What I'm here to say is that if you will be excellent, if you'll start with the goat, if you'll start with the dish room, if you'll start with whatever God gives you and you'll do it to the best of your ability and you'll make mistakes along the way, if you'll be excellent, I believe the scripture is true that you will stand before not unknown people, but known people, whether that's a president, a king, a senator, whatever. God will use you to do great things, and he'll do it in spite of you, but he'll do it because you've chosen to be excellent, and you weren't too big to do small things. And then you never want to be too small to do big things, because God will promote you. He will. We don't do it for that reason, but he will. And then you couple excellence with the second one, integrity. Man, integrity. When you think of integrity, what or who do you think of? It's pretty hard today to find a national leader that you would say, I think they have integrity. I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just being honest. I don't look at the leadership of the world today and think, man, integrity is ruling the day. We have to rewind, go back a little bit. When I think of integrity, I think of the former pastor of this church for 32 years, Ed Sherrill. He was a man of integrity. They called him Steady Eddie. That was his nickname. They called him that for a reason. He had the utmost integrity, the utmost character. I learned what it meant to be a leader of integrity by watching Pastor Ed pastor this church for 32 years. Integrity. What is integrity? Well, the Bible, the word uprightness, is really where we get our definition from integrity. And it means this: the quality of conforming to a moral standard. The quality of conforming to a moral standard. If you look it up in the dictionary, this is what you'll find. It's the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. See, integrity, I could say it like this: integrity is simply just doing the right thing because it's right, and not because it benefits me or my situation. Integrity is doing the right thing because it's right, not because it benefits me or my situation. Now, you'll notice in the definition, it's a quality of conforming to a moral standard. So, that means there has to be a standard to conform to, right? There's got to be a standard, and there's got to be a standard giver or creator. What's challenging in our culture today is we are removing or eroding the concept of truth, and we are replacing it with relative or subjective truth. That if it's true to you, that's cool, but it doesn't have to be true to me. So we've got all these people walking around defining what truth is, and it doesn't matter if my truth isn't your truth. My truth may offend you, but it's okay because I'm happy. And I feel good. And if my feel good makes you not feel good, it's okay. Find out whatever makes you feel good. And there's no standard of truth left in our culture anymore. That's what we're dealing with. We obviously believe there is a standard of truth. Integrity is making the decision to say there is a standard of truth, and that standard of truth is laid out by God in His Word, not to impose on us to have a mundane, boring life, but to be given to us as a gift by which we can live with this gift of freedom and choice that He's given us, and we can prosper, and we can have joy, not just happiness. Happiness is fragile. Joy in life. We can respect one another. We can uplift one another. We can live the life that He's created us to live, but there's a standard that's governing that, and you and I don't get to determine what that is. That's a dangerous game to play when we try to play God. So having integrity is saying, hey, this is the standard by which I'm going to live. It's a value, and then doing what's right. I'm going to quote Oprah here, so don't freak out, okay? Here's what Oprah says: real integrity is doing the right thing, knowing that nobody's going to know whether you did it or not. Real integrity is doing the right thing, knowing that nobody's going to know whether you did it or not. I do what is right simply because it's right. Regardless if you see it, regardless if you don't. See, integrity is easy when there's a consensus. It's easy when you say, yeah, you shouldn't have cheated on your wife. Now, we know that. Has anybody ever said, hey, that was okay? I think it was the best decision I ever made. That's an easy thing to have integrity, not sleeping with your secretary, not doing those things. Integrity's hard when it costs you something. Integrity's hard when it's not popular. Integrity's hard when your boss asks you to do something that is wrong and you have to take a stand and you may lose your job. Integrity's hard when it may cost you a relationship. Integrity's hard when it's uncomfortable, but it's doing what's right because I have a commitment not to my boss, not to my company, but to God, because everything I do as unto Him, and I trust Him that He's not only my creator, He's my provider. Integrity, like excellence, has a cumulative effect. I'm going to do what's right. And just like excellence, integrity is a decision. It's not a feeling. It's a decision. It's not even a skill. It's a decision. You are empowered to have integrity and be an integral person, I guess. That's how you would say it. By God, but you still have to make the decision. You have a free will. We have a choice. Integrity gets really difficult when you think nobody's going to see it. And you can benefit from it. You cut a corner here, you cut a corner there, you benefit, nobody sees it, right? And then you do it more, and you do it more. Nobody sees it, but there is a day of reckoning, right? I used to sell appliances, I told you. I sold appliances with some of the most shady people I've ever met in my life. You want to see shady people work in sales? You can lie through your teeth, and I'm sorry, people get dumb. When some people walk into a store, they lose all common sense. They lose the ability to think. I watched this guy from New York. He was selling a refrigerator to a lady. You know, refrigerators have filters in them now. And he told this lady who was pregnant, hey, this filter is amazing. It removes all cancer-causing carcinogens. Not only good for you, but good for the baby too. This lady's like, oh, yeah, wow, let's buy it. $2,500. I'm saying, all that filter does, at best, is keep maybe some hardness out of your water. It does not stop cancer. It does not do any of that. I mean, I saw people lie through their teeth and make money. Oh man, hand over fist make money. I'm sitting there going, wow. And I'm not going to lie that I was tempted and did stretch the truth at times to close the sale. Because like I said, you didn't sell, you didn't eat. You didn't make an hourly wage. But I felt like I had to go home and take a shower every day, not because I sweated or I worked hard, but because of the moral, arena that I was in. It's like, I got to fight to keep my integrity, to have my character. I know I could lie to you. And those times are difficult when you know you can prosper by just bending the truth. You know you can prosper by not being completely honest. My mom used to tell me this, Josh, truth and right always win in the end. In the end is the key. Not in the moment, not in my emotions, but in the end. And you have to trust that doing the right thing today, even though nobody's going to see it, will be the right thing tomorrow, will be the right thing a month from now, and be the right thing 2 years from now. I would ask you this question. Because you can ask me all sorts of, in this situation, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? Someone shared a quote with me today, said, if you live by principles, most of your questions will be answered. If it violates your principle, if it violates your value, then you don't do it. But the question I would ask you is, you may sleep well tonight, but how are you going to sleep from 20 years from now? Every night you're going to put your head on the pillow, you got to live with it. You got to be able to sleep with it, and you got to be able to wake up with it. Is it worth it? Guy told me a story after the first service. He said, I'm building a house, and I he's an electrician, and I work for a company, and I needed just 25 feet of wire for this one thing in my house, one thing. And I was standing there at work, and I was looking at it. I could just take it. Nobody would know. It's only 25 feet. We got spools of it. I was tempted. He said, I went to the store. I bought a whole spool of wire for $25 just for 25 feet. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. I want to say that at the job, they told him they were going to remove the stipend they gave him every week, $100. And his boss called him later on and said, I know that you've been going from here to here and doing this, and I told you you weren't going to have your stipend, but I made the decision I'm going to have you keep it. That's a weekly stipend of $100. At the end of the day, it's 25 feet of wire and $25 worth $5,200 because you could take it. That's integrity. That's the kind of stuff God gets excited about. When you know you could do it, you know you could get away with it, you know the guy to your right and left did it and nobody said anything, and you still make the decision. And it costs you something, knowing that God is watching and he will bless you because he can trust you. That's integrity. I want to share quick three things with you that integrity does. The first thing is that integrity protects. It protects. Proverbs 10 verse 9, it says, people with integrity walk safely, but those who follow crooked paths will be exposed. What does integrity protect? Your reputation. Integrity protects against accusation, because there will be people who come against you that try to say you did something, say you didn't do something, and you know you didn't, and you have a history of integrity. It will protect against that. It's like building up a fortress around you. Every time you have integrity, every small moment you have integrity, it's a brick in the wall of that protection. Start building the wall of integrity around yourself, brick by brick by brick by brick. And God will protect you. And it says this, the people who follow crooked paths will be exposed. There's a day of reckoning. How many of you remember a couple years ago the Ashley Madison scandal? Ashley Madison, if you're not aware of, is a website where people can go on and hook up and have an affair. There's some pretty smart people called hackers. They hacked and exposed the membership list of Ashley Madison, and on it were pastors, businessmen, senators, lawyers, people of influence. They thought they could get away with it. The moment the walls of protection fell down for those people was the moment they signed up for an Ashley Madison account and thought they could get away with it. You'll be exposed. I'm not trying to be heavy-handed, but if you think you're going to get away with something, I'm telling you, you're not going to get away with it. There is a day of reckoning, and you're going to pay more than you ever wanted to pay. Integrity may cost you in the moment, but it'll pay dividends for eternity. It'll protect you. Second thing it'll do is it'll preserve you. Psalm 25:21, David said this, may integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait for you. Preserving is a bit different than protecting. When you preserve something, you want to keep it in that state, right? You want to preserve your leftovers, so you put it in some type of saran wrap or some type of cool, Tupperware that you leave at your job, and your wife gets mad at you. Or Kathy has to clean it up because I leave it in the church office. You preserve it. You want to maintain the freshness. You want to maintain the essence of that. When you have integrity, it preserves the character and the essence of who you are. Every decision to have integrity is preserving that in you. You've preserved who you are. You've not compromised the core conviction and the creation that God has created you to be. As we are all waiting for the day we can spend eternity with God. Integrity, small decisions of integrity, preserve us for that. The last thing I want to leave you with is that integrity, what it does is it creates a legacy, or it leaves a legacy. It says in Proverbs 20, verse 7, the godly walk with integrity, and blessed are their children who follow them. It leaves a legacy. My grandfather, he passed away over 3 years ago now. He was a great man of integrity. He was a pastor in the Assemblies of God. He ended up becoming a presbyter. That just means he was over a lot of churches in the St. Louis section. And my grandfather, he left a really good name for me. I went down for my interview to be a pastor. When I graduated college, I was what they call licensed. And I'm in there, and the guy who was doing my interview and the other people, they knew my grandfather. I'm like, oh, you're David Earl's grandson. Yes, I am. It was like this doors opened, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's great. He's a great man. We talked more about my grandpa than we did me. And I'm like, yeah, I just go along with it. You know what I mean? And so I become a pastor, and then I'm going to be ordained in 2 weeks, just at the final level. And so I had to go take a test and do another interview. And while we're there, he said, Earls, any relation to David Earls? Yes, he's my grandfather. Oh, wow, he's a great man. Yeah, I know, he's awesome. I didn't talk more about my grandfather and do me. My grandfather left a legacy, and that legacy was his name and his character and the way that he lived his life and the way that he made decisions and the way that he treated people. I've inherited that legacy. I've got the big responsibility of stewarding it well because of people who will come after me. I can undo that. But my grandfather's legacy of integrity has opened the doors for me and given me favor. Some of you in here, maybe you can't leave a lot of money to your children. Maybe you don't have a house. Maybe you don't have a will. Maybe you have none of that. But I'm telling you what you can leave them that's greater than all of that is a good name. You're building a foundation and an interstate for them to go through life because you've left them a good name. You've instilled within them character and integrity and excellence. It'll leave a legacy. Don't just think your legacy is financial. There's been a lot of people with no character and integrity get a whole bunch of money and they blew it and they destroyed themselves in the process. It's good to leave an inheritance for your children, by all means. But maybe you should consider that excellence and integrity may be just as great of a legacy as any amount of money that you could give them. You need to think about these things as it relates to not what is going to benefit me today, but what is going to benefit me next month, next year, what's going to benefit the future generations of my family. And see, I recognize this message, it's not super exciting. It's not really like the most sexy thing that we could talk about. Right? You're not going to walk out here feeling, oh, I was just moved. I felt goosebumps. I felt the Spirit. No, he told me I wasn't excellent. I don't have integrity. This is like the boring stuff, but this is the foundational stuff of our lives. Don't forget, we've been given a new faith, a new hope, and a new love, and that is the life of Jesus in us, and we are set apart. And we can make the decision every day to be people of excellence and integrity. And here's what I leave you with. People of excellence and integrity always do what's right. Always do what's right, even and especially when no one is looking. People of excellence and integrity always do what's right, especially when no one is looking. Would you stand with me this morning? I told you at the beginning of this year, if you remember, that I was going to push you. This is a year of action. I was going to push you to help you move even more from where you're at to where God wants you to be. I wouldn't be doing you any favors if all we talked about was exciting stuff. This is the good stuff. This is the stuff if you'll take it and if you'll use it, if you'll make that decision, if you'll develop an attitude, and then it'll be followed up with action, I guarantee you life is going to be different, and you're going to see not just God move, but you're going to see yourself begin to take steps towards who God has created you to be and who he's working in you to be. So let me pray over you this morning, and we'll have a great day. Heavenly Father, I thank you for every person here. I thank you. You've given us the very best of heaven in Jesus. I pray, Father, that you would help us to be excellent in everything we do. Help us to have integrity, to do what's right because it's right and not because we derive some immediate benefit from it. Help us to be people, Father, that stand apart. Our world today is crying out for leadership that would have character and integrity and be excellent. And Father, may we be that in this culture, a people who are set apart, who are marked by the values that come from who you are. Lord, we pray that you'd bless us this week, keep us safe, provide every need that we have, bring us back safe next week, and ready to learn about what it means to be a Christ follower and what we believe. We pray in Jesus' name. And everybody said, Amen. God bless you.